We're recording.
We're recording.
Okay, well, let me get the microphone happening on our...
Yeah, I was just going to come out and just check
Oh,
on
this
that
is-
because
Oh,
I need to be supervised with the
it'd be helpful to...
We're already
is it on
running
the
on
right
everything.
setting? Right, we're happening on the recording side of it with the microphone. Now, I just want to explain that Yah has sung the Hawaiian wedding song, and
By popular demand.
But,
It
well,
was you who demanded
well,
it.
it was me that demanded, but
Well, yeah,
I
there was
have-
that Facebook poll where thousands of people voted. It was what song do you want to sing, and that's the one that came out on top.
yes, but more than that, I've been saying for the longest time that Elvis has the voice of God, because they sound so very similar. Yah sounds like Elvis, and I've been saying, but Elvis has the voice of God.
You're looking trouble.
So now, Hirad, our wonderful astrologer from the East, left me a message today, and he said, "Hey Ash, I just compared Brian and Elvis, and they have the same vocal cords, laugh out loud. It gets expressed differently and they grow up differently, but they both have the same voice from the start." He says, interesting fact. I say, have I not always said Elvis has the voice of God? And then I said, well, how did you do that? He says, yes, I just see the same position of stars representing voice and speech in their personal horoscope. They, of course, get expressed differently, but that's not the point. And then Hirad, who I've weaned him off, heavy metal, junk rock, all that dark
Oh, he
stuff.
listened to hip-hop, I think.
Oh, did he? Hip-hop, but it was all very depressing because he was having all kinds of things happening to
Well,
him.
it's all designed that way.
Yes, it is. So he says, I've been listening to Elvis recently. I love it. So this is amazing. This is why. And I was up cleaning the bathrooms this afternoon and I thought, this is it. Nobody's expecting a singing Messiah. And
It made a good musical, wouldn't it?
Yes,
Sounded like a good
totally,
musical.
totally. But you see in Revelation talks about a new song. Now, in the trap, the 1611 in the Revelation everybody's trapped in, the Jews have written in, the Pharisees have talked about the Song of Moses, and they've got everybody panicked. Well, I don't know the Song of Moses. And anyway.
What Moses didn't happen.
Moses did.
Right, it's all bullshit.
But there were a scene Revelation, because Jesus is and was and is in a scene, it talks about a new song. So what's the new song? Well, it's anything that Elvis sang, because he was titled the King of Rock, but here we have the Christ who is the Rock and the King of Kings.
So the new
So he's the
song's
Rock King.
Living in the Ghetto.
So we're going to start each program now with a song. Just a couple of minutes. of
Each
Yah
program
singing.
now?
Each program, yes, I've got all those words
It's
over
an
there.
executive decision, obviously, over there.
Sound like it.
And so people can start singing along with God, because Elvis had the voice of God, as I've been saying, and Hirad has proven it.
Well, it's confirmed in the stars, that's
It's
it. That's
confirmed,
the ultimate
absolutely.
confirmation.
So,
Well,
Can't
totally.
be argued with.
No, it can't. Now, Joel, we've got this amazing PowerPoint. It's the subject of today's show. The rest of the world is talking about all the horror that's going on out there. Well, yeah, okay, people are starting to wake up. We're going to ignore it, right? And we're going to be
That's
singing
it. It's
the new
all
song.
in your face to keep you down.
Oh, it is,
Keep you
totally,
very negative.
totally. So the more people start looking for things to bring them out of the pit of slime, it is covered in this in Revelation. And this next, then they can tune in to God singing to them and wooing them with the new song, which is anything that Elvis sung. So, moving right along.
Now, are you going to screen capture that to
Well,
upload?
Well, yes, Yar's got it on here.
I see.
And
It's already
Yes,
running over
Look
there.
at the advanced technology.
Totally, we've got our new laser pointer. We've just got
Incredible.
to. Can you stand over there and make sure it works?
Yep.
Because it's got to flip over. So I'll read the first PowerPoint. What killed the dinosaurs, and were there giants on the earth? Genesis 6:4. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually.
Well, this is good. We've got out of the song.
No, it's already played. You've sung. We recorded it earlier. Yes.
Oh, right.
Yes, and I just started.
Okie-dokie.
So they're going to hear
So
it.
this live thing we're doing now, that I'm picking up on both cameras here, is not going to have a song on it.
No, it's not. So we'll have to remedy that. We'll have to.
Well, I can
audio.
splice it at the front. Easy.
Exactly. See, Joel.
Now, have you
Oh,
clicked your
good.
thing yet?
Not yet, no, because she hasn't changed.
I have.
okay.
I have. Look, you haven't
Oh,
kept
yep.
up. Okay.
It's working.
So it's working.
I'd like to say, though, before we go too much further, that the people before the flood were very big. And we'll get to some skeletons they found in 1950, I think it was, in Turkey. And they're not really like the West, which is totally dominated by the stupidity of what the Jews are trying to say, that the big people and giants didn't exist. Well, they did. So this is a giant here, the femur they found of a man of about 15 to 16
Okay,
feet.
And that's that place I was talking about in Turkey with the big carvings of like big, they're like
Yes.
big people.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, that slide's about 40 slides away, so let's work our way through there, okay? Okay, still continuing, quoting, and it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for it repenteth me that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. End quote. Now here we're moving right along to Mars. It's all about Mars. The flood of Noah is all about Mars. So Mars is 4,216 miles wide. 4216 in Greek. This is the Greek James Strong's Concordance.
Of the King James
Of
Bible.
the King James Bible. It's
The Lucifer Bible.
Yeah, it's the 1830 edition, James Strong's Concordance. So in Greek, it means is carried away of the flood. So everything is revealed in the book within the book, which is the Concordance. When Mars bumped into the Earth, the rotations aligned. This is rotation of the Earth and Mars. The Earth 24 hours and Mars slightly higher, both rotating in the same direction. Now, Greenland was ejected out of the area of the North when Mars collided. On Greenland, there are 8 mountains over 7,000 feet high, 100 mountains in total. Now, looking at the PowerPoint, we've got this globe showing the direction of the rotation and then the line of direction down through the center of Greenland, and you can see that it matches the rotation. And here's a graphic of Mars bumping into the north of the Earth and Greenland being splattered out. Now, notice how Greenland is identical to the ejected material from an asteroid impact. This is why we know the direction Mars approached the Earth as it collided. For those of you listening to the radio, this is all at the YouTube site. The PowerPoint is at the YouTube site. There are 100 mountains listed on the internet. The following are 8, each over 7,000 feet. Now, when looking at the graph, they've actually, this is off the net, but they've got 2 mountains numbered 3, so it's 8 in total, but they're only numbering to 7 because they're repeating 3. They've got the mountain name, the coordinates, the region that it's in, the height in meters, and then the height in feet.
The point being is that when you have this type of... you went back one, didn't you?
Yes, I went back to see that.
What happens is that you're looking at the North Pole here. How is it possible for anything to cause in any remote way, by geologic means, that you'd have 100 mountains in one small nation, which is an island, and it's very close to the North Pole, and yet I've listed here how many? 5 is over 10,000 feet, 7 over 7,000 feet, something like that.
Yes, the 5 over 10,000.
But when you look at the terrain, it's all as if it's been hit with something of a gigantic force to cause that. There's nowhere else on Earth is there such a rugged landscape as there is in Greenland.
Yeah, so you've got 5 over 10,000 feet,
Yeah.
and then the remaining 3 in this group of 8 is over.
Now, you'd think there'd be a
7.
message in this, right? Well, there is. If you take the highest mountain, it's 3,700 metres. Well, that's over 12,000 feet. And that number means to look at something with wide open eyes as something remarkable.
Here we are, we're moving on to that now. So from the first mountain listed, the distance measured to the North Pole is 2,344 kilometres. Now that number 2344 in Hebrew is from 2342, and sand. The height of the mountain is 3,700 metres. 3,700 is to gaze with wide open eyes as at something remarkable. Now feet is 12,139 feet, so the number is 1213, from 1212, to make plain by words, declare, show, signify.
Now, the 1212 number in the book of Revelation is woe unto the inhabitants of the earth because the devil's coming down unto you.
Yes.
Right? It's 1212 is half of 2424, which is Jesus in the Greek Concordance.
Okay, now moving along to the next mountain, the second highest, when measured to the North Pole, is 2,564 kilometres. So 2564 is K Moor from 2560, which is bitumen, as rising to the surface, slime or pit.
So we've got sand and bitumen, both as in, those words are found in the Essene Revelation.
And this is the next slide. In the Essene book of Revelation, the word slime is used in the same paragraph, quoting, as I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, and from his nostrils wafted foul and loathsome air. And where he rose from the sea, the clear waters turned to slime, and his body was covered with black and steaming stone, and the woman, clothed with the sun, reached out her arms to the beast, and the beast drew near and embraced her. The third highest mountain measures 2,348 kilometres from the pole. The word in Greek is di, a strengthened form of a simpler primary, thano. The word is nesko, to die. Can you drink from the cup of eternal life while your brothers die of thirst? That's from the Essene Revelation. Now, when adding the 4 highest mountains, they total 44,384 feet. 4438 Malkuth, from a rule, concretely a dominion, empire, kingdom, realm, reign, royal. Now the fifth mountain listed measures 1880 kilometres from the North Pole. So it's the one that is closest to the North Pole. And in Greek it is come up, still from the Essene Revelation. And then I looked, and behold, a door was opened in heaven, and a voice which sounded from all sides like a trumpet spoke to me, "Come up here, and I will show you the things which must be hereafter." Now the seventh mountain measures 2323 kilometres from the North Pole, from 2324, which means to wait upon menially. to adore God, or specially to relieve of disease, cure, heal, worship. Quoting from the Essene Revelation, and the angel cried out, fear God, and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment has come, and worship him that made heaven and earth, and the sea, and the fountains of waters.
Now the 2-3 number in inches is the distance from sea level to the base of the Great Pyramid.
Now the sixth mountain is a man. The most important, and this being its height in meters, the most important king was a man who had been betrayed by his watchers, becoming King of Scotland at the age of less than 2 years, educated by Freemason scholars. At the age of 21, he begged Queen Elizabeth to save his mother Mary, Queen of Scots, but to no avail. His shattered heart eventually was given the opportunity to get even. The 17th Earl of Oxley convinced Elizabeth to name James as her heir to the throne. So this was James VI of Scotland to become James I of England. So the number 2385, the height of the mountain, in Greek is James. Now the number 2385 in meters is 7825 in feet. In the Hebrew dictionary is from 7812, and that means to depress or prostrate in homage to royalty or God.
Now James, he was for the first king that was anointed king upon the rock of the scone, or the stone of destiny. Did you change slides there?
No, but I will.
Oh, okay. All right. Now, what's interesting is that the stone was stolen by Edward I in 1296 when the competition for the throne was around. And what had happened is the first son of my ancestor, King William of Scotland, was Alexander II. And his son took over from him when he died, Alexander III. But he died without having any children. So then they called upon all the royals to put their credentials forward to see who was going to become King of Scotland. Patrick Golightly was one of the 13 competitors, and because he didn't have support of anybody, especially the Knights Templars, who were cutthroats, these were the forerunners of Freemasonry, he withdrew, and he remained, and the descendants of the Golightly line remained away from the throne from that point onwards until my mother was born.
So the time between James becoming King of Scotland and my rebirth date is 376.4 years. 3764 Aramaic is throne, and 376 is Ish, man of high degree.
Now what's interesting is they had the numbers all lined up for him as well. He was 400 days old when he became King of Scotland. Now that wasn't a number that they just drew out of the air. It is a significant number. So 400, for example, the moon is 400 times smaller than the sun in width, and it's also 400 times closer to the earth than the sun is. So you've got 40 days in the wilderness and 40 years of the fictitious Moses wandering around like a lunatic, can't find his way over to Jerusalem because it's all bullshit. It was made up in 500 BC by the Babylonians in Babylon.
Which is what we
the
see
Pharisees.
later.
All churches today are Pharisee.
What we see later in this.
And you've got Pharisees are talking about the Essene Jesus. Hello.
Now the sixth mountain height at 2385 meters, and so this must be in the Hebrew. Ziz is to glare, flash of lightning, bright cloud, and lightning, and then in feet 7825. This is Hebrew, is destruction, and the word is pit shekith.
Pit, destruction, and pit. Now, both of these words are also found in the Essene Revelation.
Okay. So,
It's brilliant, isn't it?
it is brilliant.
Now, I have to ask you scholars out there, why haven't you found this? Because you ain't me. Like, hello? You're all Pharisees, but idiots.
So in feet, the first 5 mountains total 54,719. When you subtract the height of Mount Kosciuszko, which is the highest mountain in Australia, at a mere 7,309 feet, it leaves 47,410. So 4741 in Greek is sterizo, to turn resolutely in a certain direction or establish a fix or steadfastly set. Now, this entire PowerPoint is about the collision with Mars and the rotation of the Earth and how gravity is affected, what it's all about.
And what happened was, of course, Greenland was ejected out, and then with the impact of Mars, and then it's set in a certain position. Now, it's very important what position it's set in, because as a creator, I don't leave anything to chance. So what we're going to see shortly is quite, although this is remarkable,
We'll gaze upon
what we're going to see
remarkable.
is going to be even more remarkable than that.
So, and this is what the Mars impact did. It slowed the inner mantle. So this is the inner mantle of the Earth as it's rotating fairly fast. Mars collides and it slows that rotation. So then increasing the Earth gravity.
Okay, now let me explain that. If you take something like a piece of steel and you have a magnetic field, and the north is facing it, it'll pull it towards it. But then if you turn it around and have the south, if it was another magnet, it'll push it away. So when you rotate the magnet very fast and there's another north-south magnet, which is called the surface of the Earth, it's going to pull it and push it, pull it and push it. So the faster it spins on the inside of the Earth itself, then the less gravity. It's only when it stops spinning that the gravitational field increases, and the molecular attraction of all atoms that were once being repelled and pulled at the same time is now going to be a greater
Attraction.
gravity.
Yeah.
Now, you ducked up and where are you at?
There
All
we
right,
go.
I'm with you.
Okay. Now, on the screen we're seeing that the white line is through Greenwich zero line to the North Pole. So this is this is where time is set through Greenwich Mean Time. So it's that line through to the North Pole where Mars bumped into the Earth. And on the screen is the pyramid, which was built before the flood. And for those listening to the radio, the face angle of the pyramid, when you draw a line up to where the line goes through Greenwich, it's perfection.
In other words, the line through the longest points of Earth or land mass of Greenland, you draw a line from the longest point south and the longest point north. Okay? And then when you run a line up through Greenwich, north-south, the line through Greenland is off on an angle. So the whole area of that island continent is off on an angle. And that angle is the same as the face angle of the Great Pyramid, which is 51 degrees, 51 minutes, 14.3 seconds, which is the pi angle, which is how you determine the distance around the Earth. Now, I had other information in here, but I didn't think it was suitable for a radio broadcast, and that was the how to work out the volume of the spheres, and I did all those comparisons, because originally the Earth was 25,000 miles around. So when the Mars bumped into it, it punched out the volume of the Moon out through Antarctica. What I didn't also put in there, which I'll do in another upload, is the average height of all the mountains, which we do the same thing they've done here with Greenland, of Antarctica. And it does the same thing. So the impact blast and a blast of the moon out through Antarctica forms a ring of mountains in Antarctica, where this debris of the moon's inner core, which came from the Earth itself, and it blasted out into the space. Now, you'll also find that the size of the moon is equal to the iron lump that's in the centre of the Earth itself.
Now, on this diagram, the highest of the 100 mountains on Greenland are down on the southeast coast of Greenland.
So, what we're saying there for the listening audience is that when this Greenland was bumped out, along the most southerly side, the longest southerly side towards facing England, all these mountains have been pushed up right on the coast. So, you could be sailing along on a boat and you can see the highest mountains from the boat. Right? So if you're sailing up from England, straight up you would see the highest mountains from the boat.
Now, what's interesting is that we watched that movie the other night, didn't we, which was about the guy ended up in Greenland.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. That was the worst movie I've ever seen.
Well, okay.
So don't go there.
Moving right along, number 17. Okay, so, alright, that's reiterating, these mountains are all along the east coast, and from above we see it is set on an angle the same as the face angle of the pyramid, pi, 51 degrees, 51 minutes, 14.3.
So for our listeners, if you go into the YouTube and look at this, you'll find that I've put an inlay of the pyramid and you can see how the angle fits there perfectly.
And the YouTube is the Golightly-Marshall Hour YouTube.
Golightly-Marshall Hour.
Okay, next slide. So the longest land line is the face angle of the Great Pyramid, the altar to the Lord. The north-south line is the zero line through Greenwich.
Now when you're on your YouTube, you'll see the dark areas, and that is actually, if you take the perimeters of that dark area of the depression in the North Pole, it's all sea. So it freezes up in the winter time of the Northern Hemisphere, of course, and that fits the shape of Mars perfectly.
Now, measuring the length of Greenland, in miles, it's 1,656.62 miles. So we have a number, 1656 in Greek is Elios, which means tender, mercy, human, or divine.
Now in the essay in Revelation, it talks about of the extended, everlasting, incomprehensible mercy of the Almighty.
Never-ending mercy of the Almighty.
All you can do is repent. Right?
Now, in kilometres, the same distance is 2,666. So 2666 in Greek is katapino, which means to devour, drown, gulp, entirely swallow up, which of course is exactly what happened during the flood. And now, of the 7 highest mountains, 6 are on the southeast coast to the most southern point. This tells us the direction is confirmed, the impact pushing the Earth away from the point of collision. Now moving down to the Great Pyramid, the Giza, we were there for 10 weeks last year, September, October, November 2013. The Sphinx was originally the rejected capstone, fine granite, reshaped into the present form. Its body was carved down into the hill. Then when the flood came, the rushing water badly weathered the body shape. The stupid Egyptians started covering it with bricks.
When we was in Egypt, I was totally blown away by the average Egyptian. They're so stupid. They completely blew me away. They constantly go on about Allah. They, although Jesus and Mary is mentioned in the Quran, but Jesus didn't die on a cross, did he? And Jesus wasn't this, and Jesus wasn't that. It is fantastic that these people are that stupid. They really are. I don't even want to talk one again. I don't even mention the Quran to me. What a load of crap that is. Unbelievable. So what happened was the capstone, of course, was brought to the pyramid, and the idea being is that mankind reduces the significance of the pyramid by taking the layout on corner sockets with fine chisel line, 36524.24. Now, that's the solar year times 100. Okay, there's also the age 365 years, which would be 365.2424 of Enoch. And Enoch is the patriarch that brought the Essenes religion to his sons, which one of them was Methuselah, and then the grandson was Lamech. And he lived 777 years, and he's the father of Noah. So
the pyramid, which is the altar to the Lord in the midst of Egypt, is a time capsule, and it's a prophecy.
Exactly right.
It's a prophecy. It's the Bible in stone, which can only be read by the one who it's all about. It's a record and a memorial of the Lord, who has to be on the earth and reveal it to a devoured mankind who are convinced that the pages that they're reading is the Word of God.
Think of it like this, that you go back after years of being away and you go into your parents' house where you was raised, you'd have a fair idea what the house is all about. But the guy across the street will know nothing about it. But he thinks he does. And that's what we have with the Egyptians and all the scholars that go there. They're all totally consumed with the King James Bible, if they've got any religion at all. And they're just plain wrong. They're stupid. They have no idea. So the land mass there is all crappy clay and sandstone, and the Sphinx head is a magnificent piece of granite, weighed about 1,722 tonnes, to give you some idea. So it was too big to fit on this structure, the Great Pyramid, because when they built it, it was built intentionally and then moved inwards for a total circumference of reducing it by 286.1. And the entire structure inside, the height of the Grand Gallery or the going in through the King's Chamber, the coffer is 286.1 inches off the passage going in through the antechamber, and that then is right under the centre of the pyramid. So this is the coffer that is my dimensions inside, which we've already done on another. But if you have any questions, ask it, and we'll do it again.
All right, so that's been covered. Now, getting back to the water from Mars. So the flood was the water from Mars being dumped upon the earth. And it flowed over North America, creating the Great Lakes, cutting through the Grand Canyon as the mountains and landmass were pushed up thousands of feet. And we see halfway along the Colorado River, the canyon is over 5,000 feet deep. And Brian flew through the canyon in 1989. Now, just a note in the centre of the globe here, the flood washed all the fish shit, which is what sand is, from America onto the west coast and inland of Africa.
So you could say where America is, that's where all the bullshit is, and all the sand from the coasts along the east coast of America and South America was washed across to Africa. And you take the Sahara Desert and the sand goes right across the continent. We've been there, we've looked at it, it's all fish shit, sand. And if you go down to South Africa, it's Namib Desert, I've also been there, and it is extraordinary in a place where the sand is so thick that the sea runs right up to it, and then there's about a 40 degree angle of sand dunes straight up that make up the mass of sand that goes across to the Namib Desert towards central South Africa.
Okay, so we've covered that there. Now the flood carried the sand, and then the rotation from east to west. Yeah, just looking at a diagram again.
So what it's showing here is that the rotation of the Earth is moving towards the sand that's been washed off the east coast of America, and the south is also the South America. All the sand has been washed away and it's been deposited onto the Namib Desert and also across the main area of Africa. That's the north part right up to the Mediterranean. So if you're listening on a radio, you really have to go into the YouTubes and look at this.
There's the Namib again.
Now, tell me when you're going to move, because I'm trying to keep up on the other camera.
All right, we're up to Australia now. That's it. So now, Australia is semi-arid soil. A little water and life bursts forth. No sand means Mars had impacted the North Pole, washing all its water into the Atlantic. And I asked, what time? What time was this? So Brian says, in the afternoon, around tea time in Australia. Now, the Great Australian Bight is straight up 300 feet out of the ocean. This means the south coast was lifted up out of the sea as impact occurred.
Now, also we drove across taking the cure for the fake flu.
Swine flu.
H1N1 flu to the Aboriginals in Central Australia. And of course we ran into the CIA, ASIO, Australian representatives, and we just pulled them apart because they were making things up as they went along. And point being, however, irregardless of that, we was driving across a desert and we stopped for some reason or other. And then in the distance, sometime later, a car comes towards us, pulls up, you all right? Yeah. Then turns around and goes back. So how would they aware where we was unless they was bucking the car and bucking our phones and everything else? So there's a very famous politician here who said in the Parliament the other day that he believed his phone and emails was bugged. Well, the Prime Minister is a complete and utter moron, a Jesuit. And he said, and he went on about the impossibility of that being the case. They wouldn't do that. They've got to abide by the law, right? Like, hello? They're dealing with Christ here. You think they're going to worry about the law? Now, what I was saying was the area that we drove through, it is so fertile that when it rains there, the desert, which they say semi-arid, it bursts into life because all the seed is already there. It's not a desert like the sandy deserts of Saudi Arabia and Egypt and all those places. This is very fertile land. And I would say very, very shortly we're going to get the Japanese down here because there's going to be nowhere else to live. And can you imagine what a country like Japan would make out of Australia? Right? I mean, these are beautiful people and they've been sacrificed. They've already been hit with Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and now they've hit with this other thing that was caused by the US. They've done, and the Mossad. These are the bastards behind it all. And of course, the only salvation for these people is to get them on planes and boats and fly 140 million Japanese down to Australia. Not a problem. Australia can support them easy.
Okay, so here we go, moving right along to 1965. I had a small biplane, and as I flew along the south coast of the state of South Australia, I was on my way to a job in Dampier, Western Australia. This is where the world's largest iron ore deposit is found. As I flew along the Great Australian Bight, I marvelled at the sheer cliffs. The continent appeared to be like a gigantic plate, tilted by forces pushing up from below. Soaring cliffs are also found around the coast of New South Wales near Sydney. South of Sydney, the land mass abruptly raise up 1,000 feet to abruptly level off, then gently slope inland. I concluded the Earth had been struck by a vast impact in the North Pole, which later I was able to confirm with computer software. Naturally, no scientists were suggesting this could be so, as all universities are puppets of Zionism. Here's a lovely picture of its official length is 1160 kilometres long. I would suggest the length is 1162.6 kilometres, to align with the width of the Great Pyramid's antechamber and the Christ's genetic numbers. Then this is the coastline of South Africa, known as the Namib Desert. Note how the sea along the coast ends abruptly as the desert falls back into the sea. Like the west coast of Africa to the north, the entire continent to the area of the Red Sea is all desert sand. We know all this sand is sea sand because when we look at it under the microscope, it is entirely chewed up pieces of shell and coral. This is what sand is. It is fish.
Sand is say it off
fish shit. The fish eat the coral, and shellfish digest any protein therein, then excrete the waste as sand.
If you look at how these fish chew on the coral, they've got this sort of a beak like a bird, and they chew it all up, and they're like a vacuum cleaner. They don't spit it out; it just goes straight through them. It's quite extraordinary to see it. They're like a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, and sand under the microscope is glorious, tiny little
Oh
shells.
yeah, tiny bits of shell and bits of.
Yeah.
See, with the tiny pieces of coral that's in them, these are polyps, and of course they just chew it all off, and they're eating the polyp. They ground it all up with these jaws, these super heavy jaws they've got, and then the flesh, if you like, of the little tiny thing inside it becomes what they eat.
Now, just repeating, and it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for it repenteth me that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. Now the dinosaurs existed at the same time up until the flood. Bones have been discovered of huge men and huge animals, some so large they had a small brain in their tail because the head was over 130 feet away from the tail, and the signal from the brain was very slow in moving the tail and legs for walking.
Generally speaking, the brain in a human being, when you send a signal down to your legs or something like that, or you feel pain or movement or something, it's 300 miles an hour. That's better. So can you imagine something that is 40 or 50 times larger in length than a human being, then it's going to be very, very slow. So when the front legs move, they want to move the back legs, so the signal has to be a straight line to get the legs to move, to make the brain operate.
Now these animals were so large, they would have been almost as heavy as a whale.
Well, some were heavier than that.
Oh yeah, that's what yeah. Now how is it possible that an animal weighing 100 tons plus yet walked on all fours eating the leaves off trees 50 feet above the ground? Trees have been found in an upright position passing through several layers of sediment. Scientists declare to be millions of years apart. These layers are huge, often several hundreds of feet high. Now today the largest animal is the blue whale, around 100 feet long and 100 tons or plus. In 1950, workmen building a road discovered a cave full of bones. And the next slide is a photograph seen where a worker is with a femur bone of a human, the height of the full skeleton approximately 16 feet or just under 5 meters. And then to the right is an excavation in India. And the point here is that if this was in the West, the bones would be hidden. It's part of the protocols of Zion to control all archaeological digs. So this photograph, wow, look how big that is. That guy standing there is probably 5'10", maybe. Yeah.
So it's a 6 foot man, and just up to the hip is another 4 feet. That makes it 10 feet to the hip.
Yes.
So the man could very likely have been anything up to 16, 17, 18 feet tall.
Now, quoting from
It's the Bible.
the Bible again, for only Og, king of Bashan, remained of the remnant of giants. Behold, his bedstead was a bedstead of iron. Is it not in Rabbath of the children of Ammon? 9 cubits was the length thereof, and 4 cubits the breadth of it.
So, what's the length of my arm there from that point to that point is a cubit.
After the cubit of a
So
man.
from your elbow to the tip of your fingers,
All right.
about 21 inches.
Okay, so approximately 15 feet by 6.5 feet. That was Goliath. No, we're going to read about Goliath now from 2 Samuel 21:20.
I'd like to pose a question before we go to Goliath. David, D-A-V-I-D in English gematria, if you multiply the letters together, so that's a D times A, so that's 4 times 1, so it's 4. Then you got V, 21, then you got I, 9, and you got D, 4 again. You multiply those all together, it gives you 3168. Now, he selected 5 river stones and put it in his sheepskin pouch. Why, question for you, why did he have 5 river stones when he's going out to meet Goliath? Anyone know? Be honest. He had 4 brothers. So, he'd use 1 for Goliath and the other 4 for his brothers. He was a pretty good shot, that's the idea of it.
Here it is. And there was again a battle in Gob with the Philistines, where Elhanan, the son of Jerogim, a Bethlehemite, slew the brother of Goliath, the Gittite, the staff of whose spear was like a weaver's beam. And there was yet a battle in Gath, where was a man of great stature that had on every hand 6 fingers, and on every foot 6 toes, 24 in number, and he also was born to the giant.
Why 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot? Babylonian numbering system. They can't help themselves. They have to put it in there because their numbering system only goes up to 6. So if you're counting 6,000 and then you want to go another number, you want to add some more numbers to it, 6,000 is as high as you go. So then you go another up to 600. Then you go again, right, up to 60. Then you go again up to 6. That's as high as the numbers go in the Babylonian numbering system. How many lords are there in the King James Bible? 6,666. And this is where King James and William Shakespeare, who was Edward de Vere, was getting even with these bastards that killed James's mother. And also William Shakespeare had to use, or Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxley, had to use a pen name because if he didn't, the Puritans would basically persecute you. You wasn't allowed to dance or smile or
Sing. Hello.
Everybody. Okay.
So the Babylonian number system, the number 6 is the fingers of the hand. So counting, they would have the number 6 represented by the right hand and 6 on the left hand and so on. So Solomon, now moving right along here to Solomon.
I think you're moving faster than I am on the camera right
Oh.
Is that the same as the one you got on screen now?
Looks like it.
Well, I had to catch up.
Did you?
So is it saying on the camera, let's get this right here, is that saying the same as that? So Solomon received 666 talents? That's a Babylonian number again. Gosh almighty.
Wait on, let me click forward. You click to the next one, and if it's got red, okay, then we're on the same page. Go back.
Shall I go back one?
Go back one. That's it. Okay. So Solomon received 666 talents of gold per annum from his Moabite and Ammonite wives, descended from the incestuous daughters of Lot as they fled Sodom. Apparently the story states they got him drunk and while he slept had sex with him. Hello! Incest. Solomon's temple was built with the help of demons he could summon to aid him. The money from his wives paid for the workers supplying materials, etc. once we see the connection to Sodom, rather Solomon that should be, who is Sodom, and his wives, practices from Sodom genetically. So, yeah, we're talking, once we see the connection to Solomon and his wives, the practices from Sodom.
Now, the unfortunate part about America and the United States and Australia to a lesser extent, you take America, it is descended from the 10 tribes of Europe, which are the 10 tribes that was dispersed by the Assyrians, which is what is causing the battle against Syria today. Yes. They are trying to destroy Syria because it was the Assyrian king, same area, that was responsible for defeating the 10 tribes of the north in 722 BC, and he didn't kill them, he sent them packing. So for many, many years the idea was that no, they couldn't have gone there, blah, 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 too far away. They went somewhere, so where do they go? Well, the shipping trade going back and forwards from Europe and England was pretty extensive in those days. This is where they got all their iron and their tin and copper from. It came from England and places like that. Some out of France, but primarily out of England. So the tin mines of England and Cornwall go back to 2500 BC. Right? Ask anyone who lives in Cornwall, they have no problem that Joseph of Arimathea was a tin man. The family of Jesus, myself, came from there, Cornwall. And from there, grandmother Anna and her husband, Joachim, came from Ireland. Why? Because the Irish line of kings goes back to Zedekiah 586 BC, 583 BC.
Now, we have about 7 minutes before our hour is up, so we'll...
Well, you rip on real quick and I'll see if I can keep up there.
Once we see the connection to Solomon and his wives and the practices from Sodom genetically, then we see he also built altars to their gods, which included sacrificing children. And then the reference is 1 Kings 10:14.
And that's what they do today. That's why all the kids go missing every year.
Exactly.
They sacrifice children. They're still doing it.
2 Chronicles 9:13 and the Revelation 13:18. Now, so those 3 verses that I just told you, we're going now to the New International, or the version of the Bible. This is the NIV, a revisionist that is owned by Rupert Murdoch. The weight of gold that Solomon received yearly was 666 talents, not including the revenues from merchants and traders and from all the Arabian kings and the governors of the land. Now, what is important here in the NIV, that it has the numerals 666. In the King James Version, it's the words 666. It's the words.
3 score and 6. 600, 3 score and 6.
Yeah. But it's the words, and they have a value in gematria. So by putting it as the numeral 666, it removes that value, gematria, from...
Because it's not spelt, it's just a number.
That's right. So the 3 verses have an English gematria. So we're talking about the NIV. So the value is 2413. Now, 2413 is sacred, holy. So what's going on here?
They're trying to make out the NIV is holy.
Now, this is the NIV is owned by Rupert Murdoch, a Jew. He controls the world's press. If you know, he was the dude that caused the media to send the beaming of Francis on the 27th of April all around the globe. He is all part of the Jew world order. Now, our politician down here, newly elected, breath of fresh air, he's the one that tells the young reporters, these fresh-faced idiots that they've got on programs like Sunrise and the Morning Show, trying to
make an ass of it. He says, you work for Rupert Murdoch.
He says what he does is he sends the storyline to his editors in Australia from New York. He's given up his Australian citizenship. So from New York, he's sending the storyline, and the editors must print the story of what Rupert Murdoch has told them. So anybody working for Rupert Murdoch...
It's against the law, by the way. An editor is supposed to be totally independent of the owner.
You're all shills and you have no brains. So, What's it all about? The delusion that covers the whole earth, brought to you by the Jew. The Babylonian Pharisee priesthood, still in control of the temple. The temple today is the earth. And it is they that have made out Solomon to be holy when the opposite is true. They have done this because they know how to use gematria and the Babylonian numbering system and have built into their script lies to keep you ensnared within the pages of a book that is satanic, and we are talking about the Bible. By changing the words from the original King James Version, this is the 1611, to numbers, they are then not counted within the gematria, and so the trap, because the original 1611 KJV is the gallows that they are hung upon as the Christ reveals and exposes them. So the words of the book that everybody is following along saying this is going to happen, that is going to happen, that is not what is holy. What is holy about the King James 1611 Bible are the numbers of the chapters, the verses, and the gematria of the words. It's the book within the book, and the James Strong's Concordance of 1830 that exposes the code that only the Christ can reveal to a devout mankind is the book that Daniel saw within the book that cannot be opened until the time of the end, when the Christ is back, whose right it is to rule and reign, who is the key to the House of David, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and he has to reveal it all to you because he is the one with the tools. In this age of technology, computers, computer software, programs, and then finally the internet so that his voice was heard. Well, I've decided that we can... This will be show number 9. Wait on, I'm seeing how long. No, we've got to finish right now.
Well, keep going because I'm recording on the other computers. Yeah.
Well, we'll start it again. This can stop. We'll start it again and we'll keep going, but this will be from tomorrow's show. The day after, show number 9. We're running out of time. Ain't it grand?
Yeah, all right. I'll stop both cameras.
Yes, stop both cameras.
And start again.
Oh, 58:30.